You need to follow the data. You need to iterate. You need to not have tunnel vision to create the best product. That's why we pivoted like 6 times.
What's going on, y'all? Welcome to Care to Elaborate podcast with Taylor and Travarus. I'm your host, Travarus, with my illustrious co-host, Taylor. Today, we're going to have a conversation with a great guest. But before we get to our guest, I want to ask Taylor, how are you doing?
I'm doing well. The cherry blossoms are blooming in DC. It's supposed to be 84 degrees tomorrow. I got blonde braids. It's giving Beyonce. So I'm ready to be outside. I feel I feel alive. Tavares, you said that I'd be negative. I'm always like, oh, I'm okay. So today I'm happy. I'm exuberant.
I didn't say you were negative. What I am saying is I want Taylor to be happier. It's what I was trying to
if y'all want me to
inspire.
be, look, if the listeners want me to be happier, please donate $1 million to. Look, if y'all give me some money, I'll smile all day long from wake up to going to sleep.
No, that's a fact. And I think we also spoke about tomorrow will be our first 80-degree day of the season. And now we're getting into the warmer months. And for those of you who are not on the East Coast, can you tell them about the cherry blossoms in DC a little bit to see just so they can know what that means?
So the cherry blossoms were brought over, I think, as a gift from the Japanese, and they have been here for I don't know how long, but they bloom in the springtime, and it attracts everyone and their mom, like to the National Mall area, which it's not a shopping mall, y'all. It's the area over there by the Washington Monument. And they are beautiful. And so there are like just so many events relevant to the cherry blossoms and their blossoming.
It's a sight to see, and if you are looking online right now and googling what is a cherry blossom, you'll be pleasantly surprised to realize they're not red.
No, they're pink. Mm-hmm.
Just a little tidbit of information. But before we continue on our regional tangent, I wanted to get to our guest, who is considered a Gen Z expert, and I wanted to give him the opportunity to introduce himself. So, Vivek, I will give you the floor.
For sure. What's up, y'all? Super excited to be here. Love the cherry blossoms, DC, by the way. I have awesome photos of the cherry blossoms. So my name's Vivek. Also go by V. V's easier. 27. So like the first of the Gen Zers at the cusp, millennial Gen Z kind of cutoff. Grew up in Dallas. That was, everything I knew about life was very Dallas, Texas centric, which you can imagine was very like one of a kind. Grew up playing football. But always realized I had like a very unique way of looking at things. I was like, first of all, I was the only Indian, Hindu, vegetarian playing football in Texas in high school. I was considered like an alien, forget minority. Like these guys were like, I have never seen this before. But I say all that to say is I always had like a unique perspective on life. And the things that I saw and observed, I always kind of took away a different meaning than I guess most people. But that led to me writing my book, We Are Generation Z. How identity, attitudes, and perspectives are shaping our future. So I was the first Gen Zer to write a book about Gen Z, published that in 2016.
Let's stop. Let's stop.
Yeah. Cool.
Stop.
Pausing.
Appreciation. That's an accolade. That's a stat saying you've acknowledged the generation that you're in is special. You decided, I need to write a book about this, but not just a book, but a centralized book about your experience, but also those around you, and one of the first in that genre. So congratulations on that.
I appreciate
that's amazing.
We can dive into it later, but I wasn't even trying to write a book. It kind of happened by accident. But what was super cool was after that, I was asked to speak all around Texas in different like high schools and things. And I really found my voice because I was super quiet, relatively bullied, not super happy. Was thinking a lot, didn't really talk a lot. But after the book came out, a lot of people acknowledged me for, being an award-winning author and things like that, which is great. But the magic for me was I learned who I was when I speak. That was really powerful for me. So wrote the book and then went to Brown in 2016. So you can imagine the most conservative county in Texas to Brown University was an insane life switch up. That was wild. And at first I had this identity crisis of like, I grew up playing football. So like life was very black and white, but in a good way. It was like, be respectful, live with integrity, be a good family person, believe in God, work hard, make money, and give back to your community. Real simple. Then went to Brown, and all of a sudden, you hear things like social justice and like community first, and like all these things where I was like, oh my God, is life about working hard, making money, being rich? Or is it about like not making money, giving back, and helping my people? And those are like mutually exclusive things to me. Like you couldn't do both. You're either for profit or nonprofit, right? There was no in between. But then went to Detroit. Random story. We can also dive into that. But I went to Detroit, and Dan Gilbert. He is the owner of the Cavs, Rocket Mortgage, StockX. Yeah. So he was my first mentor, and I started my first company with him.
Wow.
Because in Detroit, yeah, in
big
Detroit,
mentor.
yeah. My whole. So I went to Detroit and I saw what he was doing with entrepreneurship to revitalize the city. And he called it social impact entrepreneurship. We're not for profit, nonprofit. We're for more than profit. That changed my life, because then all of a sudden I felt like I found my purpose and identity. I could become a millionaire by doing the right thing, which was like, I had no idea that was possible. So I ended up it changed my life so much. I ended up giving like a TEDx talk on the hidden movements of Gen Z, which is we're all becoming social impact founders, and we're not about optimizing profits. We're about making a lot of profit, but like helping people at the same time and not compromising our values. And that's what led to my journey as a startup founder. And then the last part of that is, I was like, oh, I want to be a startup founder. I wasn't quite sure what I wanted to do. Like, oftentimes we'll be like, oh, I want to be a founder. I don't really know what problem to solve yet. So I was like, okay, I'll go get a job, figure it out. Couldn't find a job, man. Getting a job is so hard. And I mean, like, again, I went to Brown. I mean, I graduated in Ivy League. I was like a published author. I had the resume, and I was like, if I can't get a job, I can't even believe what other people are going through. So hence why I started my company, Petal, trying to help people find jobs. So there's my story.
That's incredible. While we're here, tell us a bit more about Petal and your inspiration to start it.
Yeah. So again, I couldn't find a job. So I'm like, this was crazy. We got to figure this out. So what was interesting was we've pivoted like 6 times, probably more. It's been a ridiculous journey to get to where we're at right now, what our product is, which I'll tell you in a sec. But the TLDR started off as a diversity recruiting company. So we're like, how can we help people of marginalized backgrounds, women, people of color, like find a job and connect them to employers, right? And we realized we were struggling with the exact same problems every other recruiting company was struggling with, which is I can't get people to respond, right? I'll email them, I'll text them, I'll whatever, go to their universities. I just cannot get these people engaged. They won't respond to me. So we were like, okay, we need to figure this out. So we started DMing people on Instagram. And the crazy part was we got so many responses, even though 75% of them were like, why are you DMing me a job on Instagram? Like, is this a scam? But even if they thought it was a scam, they were responding. And we were like, wait a minute, there's something interesting here. People seem to respond the most on social media. Email is too outdated. Text is too invasive. But they live on social media. You're checking your Instagram DMs. You're checking your, whatever DMs. And so we were like, wait a minute. Maybe the problem with recruiting is expecting Gen Z to find jobs when really jobs should be finding Gen Z. We should be leveraging social media. We should be leveraging influencer marketing. We should be leveraging algorithms to put job opportunities directly in front of Gen Z, just like everything else in our life. So for example, if I wake up and I spend a day in life and then I go to sleep, I'm exposed to new songs, new people, new logos, new commercials, new products, new everything. But not a career ever. Career discovery in America is not organic or never happens by accident. You have to intentionally network. You have to intentionally look for a job, the job hunt, the job search, right? You don't really go on a food hunt or a product hunt. It's just right there. So our whole thing was, why, like, if I can order Grubhub that quickly, or I can do anything that quickly, why can't I technically find and apply to a job that quickly? It sounds crazy, but that should be how it is. I had a LinkedIn post. It was like, you can fly to Venus and back, or walk from New York to LA. Both of those are faster than the average time to find a job, which is insane. Wow. So our whole thing was, okay, this is ridiculous. The real core issue with recruiting is not necessarily the AI vetting and matching and video first resumes and all these things. Those are all great. But the core issue is top of funnel. You don't know what you don't know.
Right.
You can't find these jobs. In fact, Gen Z doesn't like looking for anything. Everything should come to us.
It should already be there.
Right? It should be right there in front of your face. And so we are the first people to introduce influencer marketing and social media and algorithms to talent acquisition. So companies have used influencers to promote products. They've never used them to promote jobs before.
Mm-hmm.
And the reason this was, we're the first to do this is I like to say, like, nobody from Gen Z with a social media background and content creation understanding, who also happen to be startup tech founders, ventured their way into talent acquisition and HR. Like that combination of worlds had never occurred.
Mm-hmm.
So, so they talk about like founder product fit or founder market fit. Like there it is, So yeah, that's what we're building.
Okay. First of all, I want to say, as a Petal influencer myself, like,
yes, one of our very best.
We be doing the thing. Like the way that it makes it so much easier for people to apply to jobs, and they are also so excited when we are posting about these opportunities. They'll be like, "Oh my God, never heard of this! Oh my God, never heard of this!" So, I mean, what you're doing is amazing, and it's actually working. And I want to get into kind of, how we do the influencing and what that looks like. And so I remember when I first started, working with you, how you talked about how you want to, your marketing non-target or kind of like these consumer packaged goods companies instead of some of these bigger name tech companies that everyone's always talking about. So why do you think that these employers are these hidden gems for these young professionals?
Yeah, great question. So when we came across this solution, we knew this was like going to solve all their problems in terms of like diversity, speed, quantity, quality, all that stuff. As a startup founder, though, the hardest part for us was actually who the heck's the first one to be crazy enough to take a gamble on us, right? Like 40, 50-year-olds in HR, like they're like social media, like influencers. What is that?
Right.
And tons of them were like, I don't even know why I need to hire Gen Z. They're lazy in the title. I'm like, okay, I can't even deal with you.
Right.
So what happened was we stumbled into CPG, and we were like, so CPG, consumer packaged goods, L'Oreal, Unilever, Estee Lauder, these type of people.
Big
They are
dogs.
big dogs. Yeah, we broke in, baby. Woo. They're very well known for their products, right? Everyone knows L'Oreal.
But I got it on right now.
Yeah, I remember. Yeah, I remember when you met the team. Yeah.
Yes.
The problem is no one thinks of L'Oreal as a place to work, right? So like they're not an employer of choice. They're like a product of choice.
Yep.
Especially like men or like women of color or certain demographics.
Yes.
So we realized they were going to be the people that A, had the most money, B, were innovative enough to take a gamble on us, and C, we could actually solve a real pain point, which is like nobody knows who you are in terms of a place of work. And the ones that do know who you are is not very diverse. And what's been interesting is, hot take here, but what Trump is doing for the DEI, cutting the DEI budgets, problems with that just in general. But companies have actually, because they've had to like cut budgets and stuff with DEI, are looking to external partners to solve their problem.
Yes.
Which is us.
I literally called this maybe 2 years ago around the fact that people need to begin to gain aptitude about this discipline on their own so they can be contracted, because and I want you to finish. I specifically want you to finish on this. Being in a corporation, you see how many checks are cut for frivolous things, and the amount of money that is like y'all giving them $75K for a 3-day session for what? Right? Yeah. So to your point, you're getting with the big dogs, you know that they're spending money in ways that are a bit more, errant. And if you have a product that's going to really hit the mark, they'll definitely pay for that. But to your point, outsourcing the D&I aspects is something that I've seen coming for a little while.
Yeah, no, you're right on the point. Actually, that's cool that you understand, see that, 'cause a lot of people don't get it. And what's actually effectively happening is the private sector is now to some degree setting the price for how much you value DEI versus it being something internal. So what's cool though is we don't actually market ourselves. We used to. We were a diversity recruiting company, right? Now we don't lead with that at all. In fact, we don't really talk about it. We use the word targeting. And what happens is our belief is, if I'm the best recruiting company, you have to use me.
Right.
And I also happen to be the best at diversity. Diversity is the cherry on top. It's not the cake,
Yes. Yep.
right?
I love that.
So now they're buying in because we can solve all their other problems, but we're also, in a very good way, forcing diversity down their throat,
Yep.
which has been
Mhm.
great. And they've never thought of, they think of like, I got to go to target universities. I got to go to these certain communities. I got to go to like National Black Associate, whatever it is for diversity. I'm like, guess what? All those people are following the same influencer. You can use
True.
influencer audience demographic data as a way to target.
This is genius.
And so
by the
that's
way.
what we've done. Yeah. Appreciate you.
Now, this is
Yeah.
incredible. This is incredible. When you mentioned the Gen Z wants things to come to them, it's so funny because this is why Taylor and I get along so well, right?
Yeah.
I tell my wife all the time, I don't have notifications on my cell phone because when I don't want not on my screen, no, because I don't want it to come. I don't want you to think. I don't want you to make me respond to you. I want to go to it when I want to go to it, right?
Oh.
So
Okay.
I'll have a vibrate on, but like I don't want to see. I'll get to the message when I get to it. All that to say, with Gen Z, you all have been on the internet and things have been coming to you for so long. You're so accustomed to that mantra. And for you to take that and flip it and to think about jobs and talent acquisition, I think is incredible. But also, you pitching it in a way, speaking the language of the corporation to articulate your value proposition to them, which they could easily do on their own, but they're not thinking in this way that you are. It's an incredible business model. I think this is great.
Genius.
I appreciate you.
Genius. Because wait, we got to get to another part of your story, which we'll talk to. But I want to pivot us to. We're still talking about Petal, but I want to specifically talk a little bit more about Gen Z. And you said something that I've heard many times that is just not true. And this idea of like Gen Z is lazy.
Yeah.
We're entitled. Now I will say I do love a good nap, but I'm not lazy. Like I do. I'm gonna take one later today. But anyway, all that to say that I feel like that's something that I've heard for years. And people have this assumption, especially right now, that we just don't want to work. And the thing is, it's not that we don't want to work. We just want to work in a place that values us. That's really it. So I really want, Travarus, were you about to say something?
No, I was going to say two things really quickly, and I hate just jumping in, but this is a trope they put on millennials as well, right? What happens is when the baby boomers or the boomers or the Gen X's are threatened in any way by another generation going into leadership, they throw something on you to make it stick, right? So it's not, you all working with Gen Z, you're not lazy, you're not entitled.
No, I'm not lazy.
You want to work in a way that is efficient.
Thank you. That's the word.
Efficiency. And other generations don't value efficiency. They value volume. I don't care how good the work it is, how much work are you doing?
This is true. This is true. Because we talked about this, like even now, like with AI and all this stuff, it's better to do things in a manner that is efficient versus why are we still doing things that we could do with ChatGPT or with Copilot? Just type in the prompt and let's get it done.
Exactly.
So I want to ask you this question. So again, we're talking about Gen Z in the workforce. So how have you seen our generation kind of reshape the workforce, especially in this like post-COVID era? And what trends do you think companies need in order to adapt to retain us? Because, there was the thing about the Great Resignation and all that stuff a couple years ago. So how can companies also, attract and retain our generation?
Yeah, that's a great question. And, we've been called in by a lot of these top clients for this exact question, which is, we crushed engagement. We're getting you the best talent. You got to keep them. I can't solve all your problems all at once, So the main thing here, you nailed it, efficiency, right? So for example, the ability to communicate ideas. So Gen Z is known for immediate gratification, but employers get that confused, meaning immediate agreement. They think that if Gen Z is immediate gratification, they want me to agree with them, or they want to be heard right away, and that comes across entitled. Really, what immediate gratification for us means immediate feedback. I live in a world where I can post a video or a tweet, and overnight, 1 million people could be talking about it. Because communication in this world via social media is radically efficient. It can spread like wildfire. We can get feedback immediately. So when we go to an office where it's like, okay, I have an idea, but I need to communicate to this person, who's going to communicate to this person, who's going to communicate to this person, who's then going to come back and set up a meeting, and then we're going to meet next. Like the whole
Snooze
thing.
fest.
I
Yeah,
hate
it's
this. I hate
ridiculous,
this so
right?
much.
So the idea is Gen Z comes across again as entitled, or like we want to be heard, or we want our ideas to be agreed with. But it's not about that. It's about we're so used to having ideas and quickly getting feedback, iterating, moving, and building. And so the first thing that we tell companies is you got to fix your communication standards or structure internally, right? Because Gen Z is going to come in with ideas. They will openly disagree with you. They will have feedback for you. And if there's no way for them to actually communicate that effectively, there's gonna be a problem.
Yep.
And I mean, it starts with just having one-on-one meetings with your Gen Z, employees. Like so many hiring managers don't do that, or bosses or whatever.
It's nuts.
It's nuts. So that's the first thing. And the second thing is, oftentimes when we do see Gen Z, we always everyone knows this. We care about the person we're working for, and we care about the impact that we're having.
Yes.
We also care very much about financial stability and things like that. But let's say that's a given, which it's definitely not. But let's assume that's a given. The next step here is the Gen Z person in your office needs to know what tangible impact they're having.
Mhm.
So tangible impact that a Gen Zer will view as like, okay, I'm doing a great job, is different than what the actual manager might think is necessary for the
Right.
bottom line of the company.
Right.
So let's use an example of sales, right? Typically, managers will talk to a Gen Zer and be like, nice, you hit your quota, blah, blah, blah. You're going to get a raise and you're not going to get fired. Great job. Cool. That's what you and your CEO should be talking about. And yes, you should tell that to your Gen Zer, but tell the Gen Zer, like, yo, we just had 3 incredible conversations with these clients because you brought them in, or like this person changed this structure with their startup, assuming we're like financing startups. Or my point is, it's less about the numbers all the time, and it's more about the actual behavioral change or impact. And if you can communicate that to a Gen Zer, they're far more likely to stay. So I think they need to know their tangible impacts. It doesn't need to start with changing the world, and they need to know how they can communicate ideas quickly and get feedback. You do those 2 things, you're starting at a great place. Yeah.
This is
Ooh.
really incredible because, and again, I reiterate, one of the purposes of this podcast is to bridge the gap between Gen Zs and millennials. Taylor is a bit of an old soul, and I'm a bit of a younger spirit, and it helps us to bridge this gap because amongst my peers, I would lean more Gen Z in terms of speaking truth to power, ensuring that the work that I'm doing is tied to a bigger cause, making sure that we are efficient, and really just like saying when something is stupid. I think those
Yeah.
are really important things to say in the space. And when I was a manager, meeting with folks to understand the human, because in order for the human to do better work, in order for the person to do better work, you have to understand what makes them tick, right?
Mhm.
But when we are moving further away from the human aspect, and Gen Z is helping to usher in this revolution of AI, how do you think the Gen Z population is adapting to AI, and where do you think AI and Gen Z will be in the next 5 to 10 years?
It's a really good question. I myself, I know I'm a tech startup founder and all this stuff, but I'm still learning the AI game. So
It's a lot going on.
yeah, it's a lot going on. But I think they use the example of the what's it the ATM machine. Like we thought it was going to take a bunch of jobs, but it really just evolved the jobs.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I think with AI, it's Gen Z is very creative. In fact, with my book, the idea of the cover, the prism, was like bland ideas go in. Gen Z like has it in
Oh,
a
I
really
like
cool way.
that.
Yeah. So like
We like entendres.
yeah, like Gen Z's prism. It was like
Yep.
it's like that. So the AI is going to allow that to be even more creative. I think we have a lot of ideas, creativity. Gen Z in a very funny, interesting way is like poetic, and like they see things from a different lens. But AI is going to help the creativity flourish. I think
Yeah.
whether it's in creation, whether it's video or like music, or like just startup ideas or designing of things, like I think we're going to see a whole new creative blast of Gen Z via AI. It's a super generic answer, but that's what I'm like most excited about.
And I
No, but
think that's
go ahead. No,
valid.
go ahead, Taylor.
I was saying, I think that's valid because I am very creative and I am one of those people who can come up with a concept in my mind. But
Correct.
y'all, I can't make that. I can't draw. So like
Exactly. That's me
exactly
too.
using
Yeah.
AI to make some of these aspects of my creative brain come to fruition. So I really love that because that's exactly. I mean, Travarus did that the other day too. Travarus was playing around with
Oh my
AI,
God.
making some
Yeah.
images, and to that point, it just makes work so much more enjoyable and easier for me. And just and not even the respect of creativity. I also think in again the manner of efficiency. I could tell AI to go and make this process doc versus me spending 2 hours typing it out myself.
Totally.
So
Because the
game changer.
idea is I need to spend my time on the process, not
Yes.
building the
Not
doc.
making it.
Correct.
Yeah.
And this whole area of efficiency, it's I think that I'm not sure if you have heard like everybody has multiple intelligences, right? It's just like your life's purpose to figure out what intelligence you fall into, and some people get lucky where they're within a purpose and they can make a lot of money doing that, or some people their purpose they may never meet it. What I think uh, AI does, at least a generative AI, it allows you to tap into another intelligence that can help you tap into other creativity, because having the tool ChatGPT in front of you is not enough to say that you're going to do your job better. How you use it, what prompts you use, how persistent you are. Taylor, I was
Mhm.
making images. I was looking up some of the most iconic ad campaigns in history, right? And I was looking at how can we weave the Character Library brand with that iconic brand ad campaign and see what it came up with. And it was like some cool stuff. And now I'm going deeper, deeper, deeper. The tool can't save you. Your aptitude for the tool is going to take you to the next level. Similar to
Nice.
if ChatGPT is your prism on your book. You take an idea and it amplifies it and it helps to create something brand new. Something else that Gen Z does really well in terms of branding themselves is finding ways to make money on the internet.
Mhm.
Um,
Amen to that.
has Petal seen a pushback from traditional career paths as opposed to going to like traditional social media influencer routes?
Yeah. That's a really interesting question. So first of all, Gen Z lives very non-linear career paths. Like that's like just kind of what we do, and it's scary and uncertain because you don't feel like you're always climbing the ladder every time. You're going like horizontal, maybe you feel like you're going backwards. Um, so what we've done with our company is we really try to target like cool jobs. That's like one of the things we talk about
Mhm.
is like we're not going to find you some. We will maybe eventually be servicing all jobs, but like if you hear about a job from Petal, it's probably pretty cool. So that's the first thing. The second thing though is, it's interesting. There's all these stats out there that like Gen Z wants to be content creators. We want to be startup founders. Um, higher percentages than ever before. And I actually think that because the job market's so tough right now, it's forcing people down the creative routes
Yep.
and the
Right.
entrepreneurship route.
Yep.
But something that's not talked about enough because it's with Gen Z, it's all about like impact and what's cool and hot and social media. But like because of what we've seen with our parents in '08, because of what we've been going through with COVID and still now, um, we really, really value financial security.
Mhm.
Mhm.
And we won't necessarily compromise our values for it, but we will compromise creativity and fun to some degree if we need to. And so I think having jobs out there that might not be, super boring, but allow financial security is another aspect that I think we ascribe to a lot of older generations, but is starting to be recognized as a key value for Gen Z. So when we promote our companies, we want them to be either cool, a stepping stone, somewhere where we know they have the internal environment for Gen Z to thrive, or frankly, something that we know provides solid financial stability. So that's what we're really looking at.
I love that.
And I think also we should say that this is the first time that stuff like this is like readily available. Like our
For sure.
parents didn't have YouTube, our parents didn't
Totally.
have Instagram. So like this idea that you can make money on the side by just literally posting your life is something
Yeah.
new and exciting and fun. And I think we want to kind of venture or switch towards that because it is something that again is so readily available now that anyone can do. And that's what got me into content creation partially because I'm like I can just go over here and it takes 5 minutes to make a post and it can
But
end up becoming something that's good.
you realize that it does not. And here's the part that millennials, I can't say millennials, but Gen X and baby boomers don't see. What you see is an authentic video on Instagram or TikTok, but you don't know it took you
It's a oh my God, them
so many
days
moments to
and
find the
alive.
space
Yeah.
to do it, plus the
Yeah.
editing, plus the
Yeah.
captions. Like
Ugh.
the most efficient person takes an hour for a 1 minute video. It may take for it to be perfect, maybe take 45 minutes to an hour
Which
to
is
edit.
why I hate TikTok. I hate making
Yeah.
TikToks, y'all. It be
Yeah.
taking a literal 30-second video be
Yeah.
taking so long to edit.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Oh my gosh. But I want to talk about this idea of side hustles. And I know you have your own thing. You host 501 Hustle, highlighting side hustles. So why can you dive a little bit more into why you think these side hustles are so important for our generation, other than like the financial stability aspect?
Yeah. So actually, I think it's flipped, right? I think you see. I think this whole monetize your passion, I think it's great, but I do think it's overrated. I
Mm.
think that this monetize your passion is something that you evolve to learn how to do, but so many people think you got to do that at like 18 or right out of college at 21. Like you don't even know
What your passion
what
is.
you really, what your passion is. Like let alone your purpose. I mean, if you want to make a
Right.
distinction between
Ooh.
passion and purpose, that's an even harder one.
Mm.
What you really should be doing is monetizing your purpose, but that's, 2 layers deeper than the passion idea. But the thing is that I think it's overrated, and I think it's something you need to find. And that takes time because you've had limited time on Earth. I don't care how smart you are. At the end of the
Right.
day, you've only had 21 years on Earth.
Yeah.
So your first job is allowed to be shitty. Go work at a shitty job. It's okay. But use your side hustle, use your 501 hustle, meaning after 5 o'clock, to
Oh, I
discover
like
what you're, yeah.
that.
People working 9 to 5, but a 501 got a side hustle. So use your side hustle as a way to help you discover what your passion or purpose is. And
Mm.
don't be under the pressure of trying to monetize it right away. That's the whole point of a job. Learning to monetize your passion comes after you first of all identified it and learned how to grow it. I mean, there's a lot of steps to learning how to monetize your passion. It doesn't
Yes.
happen right away. So that's why a lot of us are starting these side hustles. And mine, I don't know if I think we've talked about this maybe briefly, but I started the Quarter Life Crisis Social Club in New York. And everyone's been going through their quarter life crisis,
kinda
right? So
wanna
I was like,
join
yo, this is, oh my God. So we do monthly workshops where we'll
Wait.
go through these really cool curriculum. I just had one this week. It was
I need
awesome.
to, can I sign? Do I have to be in New York? I need
Absolutely.
to sign up.
No,
This
no.
is-
It's on Zoom. It's on Zoom. It's
We're
awesome.
gonna link this below.
Oh,
This
it's
is
so
funny.
cool. We
This is
have
funny.
we have great people come. Anyone from Forbes 30 under 30 to university students to like whatever, but people that like regardless of their accolades are going through what we call the quarter life crisis.
Mhm.
And I was deeply depressed in my life at a certain time where I was like I had knew about mental health, but I was like, damn, now I know. I mean, I was so depressed.
I know that
And
feeling.
my mentor told me, he goes, life is like a machine, and like any machine, there's a design. When you understand the design, you become immensely powerful. And so I got obsessed with what is the machine of life.
You need your
Like, there
owner's
are life
manual.
facts.
You need your owner's
Yeah,
manual.
exactly. You don't get a manual for life. You do
Right.
for math and science and like
Right.
whatever. But there are life facts that like we should stop believing in and we should know. Right? Like you don't believe 2 + 2 is 4. You know
You
that
know
shit's
it.
real.
Right.
So there are certain things with the machine of life that if you know, you actually can do a lot of these like things that you should believe in, like becoming the creator of your life and making things happen the way you want. So that's what we talk about in the workshops, but in a very like Gen Z-ified young adult way. Because I think I got exposed to this information, bless my parents for really investing in me and my development and stuff. But to get this information, you have to pay a bunch of money to
A
get
bunch
it.
Yep.
of money.
A
Oh my
bunch
God.
of money. And you're getting told from a 40, 50, 60-year-old, right? So there's a huge gap on how can we get this information to young adults that without having to spend that much money, and how can they hear it from someone in their generation so they can actually like understand and vibe with them. And so
Can't
that's what I
collaborate.
started. There you go. There you go. Yeah. So that's what we do every month. We do a workshop. There's a Discord. People, come in, share their stories. We do on-demand coaching. Throwing our launch party in New York soon. So really, we got merch. So the girls have loved Happy is Hot. So that's been fun out to sell.
I love
That's
that.
fire.
Yeah. So we've been growing this thing, but we're trying to make it cool and fun to be like life is hard, but we're gonna figure it out together. Unlike the deep negative connotation sometimes with like typical therapy or like, whatever.
This is
So.
I
You're a
don't like
genius.
how closely aligned to Gen Z that I am. I'm not happy. So one of the things you can't see it on the screen, but based on your 501 hustle, this is one of the ads that I made, and it says, let our 5 to 9 help your 9 to 5. That was one of the taglines we're going with,
Wow.
right? So let our side hustle help your 9 to 5, right? We want to make sure that
Yeah.
you also, I also had a quarter life crisis, and it was my first shitty job. And I was like, I'm not making enough money. I need another job. And I hated it immensely, tremendously. I hated it. I was like, I quit. I did it for like a couple months. But it's so interesting to hear you all go through this out loud, whereas I dealt with it on my own, right? I didn't have a community of people that were feeling the way I felt. I remember asking one of my friends one day, and now this is a very Gen Z thing, because everybody in Gen Z feel like they're a main character. I asked my boy in 2014, I was like, do you ever feel like you're the one? And he was like, nah.
I was like, what are you talking about?
And I was like, I feel that way I feel like I'm special. I feel like I'm chosen. I feel like I am in some way supposed to experience things to help others along the way. And not only can I experience it, but I can articulate it as to this is why you shouldn't do it. Because if somebody tells you not to do it, that's not enough. Why shouldn't you do that? Or why should you prefer this way over that way? So I'm not comfortable with how closely aligned to Gen Z I am through this conversation.
You should, Travarus. It's okay.
I'm
Like,
not okay.
do you want us to accept you? You can be an honorary Gen Z
No.
member.
I unlike other people, I love where I am in life. Age, position. I
Okay,
love it.
Big
Period.
40 on the way.
Look, my hairline's still
Period.
intact. I can still bust
Your
anybody's
hairline
ass
is
on the
still
basketball
intact.
court. We're absolutely fine over here.
You sure your hairline real? Them that hair plugs?
Nah, we not.
So,
I grew my hair out just for the haters, just to make sure they know like this is
just
a
for
real
the
thing.
haters, it's crazy.
Nah.
But anyway, we gotta link everything you just mentioned down below, and I just want to say, like, Vivek, you are a genius. Like a lot of the stuff that you are saying, I did not know that you were doing on this. Like, in addition, you got your own little side hustles too. It sounds like,
Yeah.
well, big side hustles, because these things are amazing.
Yeah, don't
And
do that. That's another.
no,
That's not. Don't.
I say lil,
Nah,
like
you can't. Don't minimize my man's.
It's
So
all good.
big side hustles. I
but let
corrected
me.
myself.
Can I ask a question? Can I
Yeah,
ask a
ask
question?
a question.
Everyone has an idea,
Mhm.
right? How do you operationalize building a business, scaling a business, making it profitable, but also marketing? How did you either learn how to do it or bump your head enough where you figured out what was going on?
Yeah, you just asked like, how the hell do you do this thing? We're still figuring it out, man. That is, whew.
I love it.
I know, dude. That is hard as hell. Selling and building and marketing all at the same time is ridiculous. But I guess
I'm aware.
the first thing is, yes, to your part, everyone has ideas. I like to say all the time, the graveyard of good ideas is infinitely large.
Yep.
And I hated the growing up, someone had an idea and you're like, well, if you had the idea, I'm sure someone else already has. That doesn't mean shit.
What does
That doesn't mean
what?
anyone did anything
Yo,
with it.
that's a real thing. That literally helps to stunt your growth.
Yeah.
That idea is going to be taken by somebody who has more money than me.
Yeah,
Like,
exactly. The first step is everyone wants to. You got to take action without even knowing what the hell you're doing, right? Like I think people all the time are like, I got to figure out exactly what the first step is, how to do this, blah, 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 and you get stuck in analysis paralysis. You're supposed to just take the first action. Like Nike's whole "just do it" really
Just
hits.
do it.
That's the first thing. Second thing is, you have to understand the problem deeply. Forget your solution. If you so many people when they go into a VC meeting, when they talk to another startup, if you ask them what do you do, they're going to immediately go into their solution. Those that harp on the problem are going to be the most successful, because guess what, your solution is only based off of what you currently know, and what you currently know is very limited to what you know. You need to follow the data, you need to iterate, you need to not have tunnel vision to create the best product. That's why we pivoted like 6 times. Too many founders will have tunnel vision. So that's the second step, is like
agility.
Agility, pivoting is the name of the game. So that's the second thing. The third thing is doing things manual is a blessing.
Hmm.
because what happens is, especially in this whole tech startup world, people want to automate too quickly. They automate the wrong thing. And when you automate the wrong thing, Elon talks about this a lot. When you automate the wrong thing, you spend a lot of money, time, effort, and you get developers pissed off at you. And that's not fun. So doing things manually so you actually know what to automate is key. So what we've learned when we're building a product and selling a product at the same time is, okay, we're going to sell something to a company, and whatever they want, we're going to do it manually. It's going to suck. We're going to do it manually. After we do it manually, we're then going to reassess the process and then automate it. And then we're going to sell something with the exact same machine, but test out the automation. And then we're going to fix the bugs, and then we're going to build the next part manually.
But where does this ideology come from? Like, how did you, because it's one thing to bump your head, but sometimes you bump your head in the right spots, right? So
Yeah.
how did you know that order of operations while building the business before even selling? Like, how did you even develop this acumen in this space?
No, so I did. I banged my head against the wall a gazillion times. We spent
Do you
hundreds of
have a
thousands of
concussion?
dollars.
Like,
Oh my God, we lost so much money. I had no idea what was going on. Hence the deep depression. I had to see. And the other thing is, you want to market really. Marketing is the last thing you should invest in. We spent so much money marketing. I spent so much time trying to design. And then I realized what we did was we actually, Chisa, my co-founder, we looked at each other. We said, "Look, we're trying to do too many things. We're trying to build a product, market this, that, blah, blah, blah." So we said, and actually, COVID and the fundraising hit rock bottom. So what it forced you to do was actually build a business traditionally, which is only one thing matters: revenue. That's it. So we looked at each other and we said, forget everything. Our goal is this revenue number. We're going to do whatever the hell we need to do to hit that revenue number. When that became a guiding light, all of a sudden we got clarity on how to build a product roadmap, how to develop, how to not focus on marketing.
You had a singular focus
We had a singular focus that was centered around money, not necessarily impact or marketing or anything like that. It was money. Because at the end of the day, a business is a product or service, but it's also a business model. You can't make money, you don't have a business.
Yeah. And this one more question. I want to make sure I go to get this deep dive out the way. How did you know when to pivot 6 times? Like, who informed you? Was it internal? Was it intrinsic? Was it your consumers? Was it your clients? Who let you know, like, oh, this angle, this is a dead end road. We should probably make a left or a right.
Yeah, that's also a great question, dude. So you have to know the end vision or world that you're trying to create, or else you won't know where you're going. So you can't even pivot if you don't know where you're going. You'll just keep building the same thing. So you have to know at the end, where am I trying to get to, right? Then we started to learn to pivot because money became the guiding light. It's how do we get to that money? And also, money doesn't mean just taking in revenue. It means lowering your costs. So how can we pivot so that we can most effectively get there and follow the data? I mean, that's essentially, what it was. And we got to a point, I mean, we were doing $500,000 revenue, blah, 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 and people thought we were doing great. But I knew at the end of the day, what we were doing was not scalable. We had a very successful small business. We did not have a tech startup I was trying to exit for, a ton of money. Yeah. So when everything came back to the money, is this scalable? Is this the most effective route to get the revenues? Are we lowering costs? Is this the most effective way to reach candidates? That's when we started understanding, but all that feedback comes from your consumer. Your consumer, whether it's a client, a candidate, an influencer, because we serve 3 stakeholders. It's actually very complicated. Forget a 2-sided marketplace. We have a 3-sided marketplace. Yeah. Understanding all of their inputs, help with the pivoting, but it was all centered around money.
Incredible.
Whew. I'm learning so much today. I mean, I feel like I am just taking all of this in, and I hope that everyone listening is also learning so much as well, because I'm like, wow, I just did not know these things about you, and I talk to you every month.
Yeah.
I'm meeting a whole new side of you. So just again, thank you for being here.
No, thanks for giving me the op. It's so cool I mean, we've talked from a Petal perspective, and it's been great, but I'm learning a lot about y'all too, how you think, and these questions have been great. So I appreciate you.
Thank you.
So I want to talk about you because you apparently you have a whole nother thing that you do too, which I'm like, when do you have time to do all this stuff? But anyway, I'm like, what?
That's funny.
Apparently, you are an angel investor. Is that right?
Yeah, so I
Okay,
don't do it as much anymore because of time and frankly money. But at the time,
okay.
yes, I was investing in a lot of the founders I had on my podcast, and it was
Oh,
cool.
you
I
were
mean, I
Shark
had
Tanking. You were Shark
a
Tanking.
Wait,
little bit, bro, a little bit, dude. I had I don't know if y'all know, like I had some of the companies blown up right now. I had them way back when nobody knew who they were.
Oh
Like
wow.
Posh. I don't know, they're like the
I
ticketing.
I
Yeah,
literally
yeah.
used it. Look, I got
Yeah,
a
yeah.
ticket on there right now.
I knew them, was friends with them, interviewed them on my podcast, like
What?
pre first round of funding. They just raised 22 mil at like or whatever. Yeah, yeah, yeah. So it's
So
cool. I was finding all these guys.
So okay, so obviously you'd be finding the people
Eye for
way
talent.
before they blow up. Look, you need to tell me something. Okay, so
What do you see in my future?
what? Okay, what? You got a magic ball? I need you to tell me something. Cause what? Okay, so since you have seen so many people blow up, from start to having millions of dollars in funding, what advice would you give these young entrepreneurs that are seeking funding?
um, First thing is fundraising shouldn't be if you need money, which everyone does. Fundraising shouldn't be your only answer. It should be an answer, but it should be an answer to grow,
Hmm.
not to necessarily get started. I mean, the first thing that the way you make money is by selling your freaking product. You know,
Yeah.
it sounds so simple, but like sell your shit. If you can't prove to a VC or to somebody that like I have identified a serious problem, I have basic level traction. One client pay me $100, but they're happy.
Hmm.
Like if you can prove that this has some wheels to it, that's the first thing. I think a lot of people go to VCs and and they're like, why do you need the money? Well, I just need the money to get started. Like, no, you don't. You need to show me that I can actually
Right.
invest in you. You gotta,
Yeah.
because I think founders forget like this is a big risk for like the VC. I mean, as much as I like have my issues with VCs, that's a whole other rant.
I was going
You
to
gotta
ask you about
understand
it
their
too.
perspective. Yeah, no, they piss me the fuck off. But we can get into that.
But
So
I hear that a lot, that VCs aren't pleasant to work with, and people have this connotation that VCs is easy to get money from them, but the returns are vicious, and they've been known to overtake somebody's company in the event that they're not in agreement with, like a hostile takeover. So I
Yeah.
was, we can table that.
yeah, VCs aren't your friend. I mean, as much as they you want to think that or whatever, like it's a mutual using situation. Honestly, it's like dating. It's the other thing about fundraising is you're gonna go into a VC and we think like I need the VC. I need the VC for money. I need the VC for network. They sense that. It's just like dating. Imagine a girl that's like, oh my God, this guy is all over me. He needs me, blah, blah, blah. They ain't dating you.
It's a
You
dub.
know?
Yeah, it's
you
a
got
dub.
you gotta flip that power dynamic. No, girl, you need me.
Right,
Like, you know what I
right.
mean? It's the same thing with VCs. Like
It's an
the
example,
same thing.
Taylor. It's an
I
example.
know.
It's an example.
It's a lighthearted joke,
I
kind of.
can sense her triggering miles
I
away.
know.
Whatever.
No, but it's real. You know what I mean? Like you gotta walk in knowing who you are. Like
Yeah.
if you walk in with like a passive, like scared, I need you vibe, like they're not gonna, invest in you.
Okay. So be the big dog. Like, hey,
Be the big
Yeah.
dog.
yeah.
You don't gotta be disrespectful, but you gotta be a big
yeah.
dog.
But show that
You gotta be
Project.
confident who you are. Yeah,
that
Project.
yeah.
girl or that guy for real.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I just want to ask, and then we can wrap up and go towards our rapid fire section.
Voice.
For Gen Z, with all that you've known between your book, your company, the data that you accumulate on a day-to-day basis, why does Gen Z have a distrust for traditional institutions?
Okay, I was
Funny.
at the lab too because I can name about 50 reasons myself, so I know you.
I as well, but I want to hear from a Gen Z expert. Not saying that y'all don't want to hear from you, Taylor,
Yeah.
but because
He the expert for real. He telling me.
I want to know because I got some gripes as well. But I want to know from a Gen Z perspective, what are the reasons why you all distrust traditional institutions?
It's so Gen Z distrusts three major things. I read about it in my book. It's government, media, and big corporations.
Ooh.
Those are the three.
Okay, and especially the government.
Yeah.
Amen.
Especially the government. Look, Taylor, actually, I would love to hear your opinion, but when people just like Gen Z loves real and authentic and people that are led by values and principles and morals and people that exemplify like what it means to be a human being. It means having joy and health and proper relationships and like treating people with respect and like all of these things in a very hyper materialistic capitalistic society gets destroyed and eroded traditionally with billionaire business leaders. Not all of them, by the way. There are very great rich people too, but you know, some of the billionaire business people, your top of the top politicians, and your media who reports with no integrity anymore. They're not investigative journalists. So I think we've just seen the erosion of values, and then the way that they treat us like we're stupid and can't see right through it is the other thing. Is like you're totally, you know, insulting my intelligence here. So yeah, they've done a terrible job, those three organizations, and we see right through their bullshit. But the people fight back, man, and it's kind of cool watching Gen Z fight back. I mean, businesses like we're threatening them. You know, they're scared. Like they're like, oh my god, if I don't adapt, I'm gonna go out of business. Politicians are like, you know, oh my god, I gotta like cater to the youth vote all of a sudden. Independent podcasters are like, I'm taking over media. So all of these institutions are very threatened because we are, you know, we're a little uprising here.
Okay, power to the people. And I agree with you wholeheartedly. I think for me, the distrust just comes from the fact that all of these big institutions, corporations, these people are so focused on themselves and their bottom line, no matter if that's money, if that's power, if that's whatever. And I just don't resonate with that. And to the point that you mentioned 45 minutes ago about this idea of community impact, we are so focused on social justice, empowerment, community that we just don't resonate with these people who are focused on power and money and greed. Like that is such a 1920s era thing that is just not relevant right now. It's just 2025. Everybody needs to lock in.
I have two examples of when I began to distrust things.
Ooh, I got 10.
No, these aren't connected to what y'all are saying, but they resonate. Number one, the Got Milk campaign.
Yeah.
Early, they told us drinking milk would prevent osteoporosis and people. And it was now I was a kid when I never liked milk. I never liked drinking milk anyway, so I was rebellious in that regard. And when you realize, oh no, you're not supposed to drink cow's milk, right? Fail. The second one was MTV and BET countdowns are not by the people who call in to say they wanted this specific video. The record label would manipulate the callers to make it so that whoever paid the most, their video will be number one on TRL or 106 in Park.
This ruined my childhood.
But when I learned, but it's those two frivolous things made me feel like, oh, you can't trust anybody. And the final thing, and then I'm going to give it to Taylor and I'm going to shut up, was I think life is like Yelp. Because if you look at Yelp, the only people who respond are the people who are the happiest, who are the saddest. If you had a dope experience at a restaurant, you're not going to Yelp and say this was a really dope experience. Unless you had over the top service, you're going to respond, or unless you had terrible service.
That's true.
And the people on the margins are the ones who are the loudest in life. And it makes it so that we think that this represents a big population of people when it's usually like a small fraction of, right? So when you go to choose a restaurant, going to Yelp, I can probably deduce like, oh, they were unhappy. They had a bad day. Whereas some people just like, oh, they got 4.5 stars, I'm not going. So you have to be able to filter through the nonsense to understand what's real and what really resonates, or what's in just Instagram or TikTok comments, or what's actually real life.
Yeah, this is very valid. Them people on the fringe be
just loud.
I'd be like, shut up. Yeah. Shut up. You don't even know what you're talking about. Like, oh my God.
You know what's crazy, man? After we got Forbes 30 under 30, dude, I got so many emails from like top magazines, like names we all know. They were like, hey, for $750, we'll make you the entrepreneur of the month, entrepreneur of the year.
See?
I was like, this is how it works?
Yes.
It's ridiculous, dude. This shit was crazy. I was like, my God, all of this is bullshit. I grew up thinking, oh my God, they're in this magazine. They're that. Dude.
Bro.
Money runs the world. I was like, that's crazy.
Nothing is sacred. And the reason...
it's all fake.
Y'all
ruining my life.
Yo.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Yeah.
Oh, damn, you can pay for anything nowadays for real. Just throw some money at some shit and
some corporations will draw up your editorial, right, and have your picture, and it's like, $1,500, this can be yours. Man, what?
Crazy.
You're not choosing me on my merit? This is not a meritocracy.
No, it's not, dude. It's crazy, bro. Even SEO, the more I've gotten deeper in SEO and stuff, there are people that like a certain amount of money, you are in
Oh, for
CNN, New
sure.
York Times, Wall Street Journal. It's easy, bro. Just pump it. Like I'm like, this is I really looked up to this stuff, you know? It's yeah.
And
I'm shaking my head.
who are they fooling? The
Yeah,
people
I
who
know.
are on the fringe with the loudest voices that continue to
Correct.
influence and
Correct.
manipulate the people who,
And
my
then
fault,
also
Taylor,
just
go ahead.
thinking about it from like the perspective of someone who may be low income or underrepresented, like
Totally.
you don't know these
Don't
shit. I don't know shit. I
know.
don't know these things. Oh,
If you
Totally.
were, I know you're from Alabama, but you know stuff.
yeah, yeah, thank you, Travarus. Anyway, I'm going to our wrap up section. This is about to be
So,
short, rapid fire, and I just want to say
cool.
again, I love this conversation. Like we could really talk about this all day, but I know we got jobs, so we gotta go do that.
Go, go.
It's so unfortunate, like damn. But anyway, but thank you for my job. Okay, let me not say that because anyway. So let's talk about this briefly. This job market. It's really tough. Like I talk to students every day, like, and they are just frantic. They're sad. It's so hard for them mentally, physically, like all of this stuff right now. So if you could give one piece of advice to someone who is finding it hard on their job search as a recent grad or someone who's early in their career, what would it be?
Just remember you're not alone. You're not the problem. There are several other problems that we are trying to fix.
Mm.
Continue doing the traditional route for now until we find solutions like network and get put yourself out there, follow incredible people like Taylor, and start getting creative. Use this. Sometimes pain is a blessing. Use this as a time to figure out how you might be able to monetize a passion, and discover what you really love. So I guess that's, it's not very helpful advice, but that's
But it's
what
facts. It's facts.
Yeah.
I'd be saying the same thing. Yeah, this is the time to figure out, what you really want to do.
Want to. Yeah.
It's the perfect time. So thank you for that. Okay. Now, can you elaborate on Gen Z in 3 words?
3 words.
3
Oh, I
words.
love. Okay. Innovative, creative. That's like, I'm counting them as 1. That's 2. Dynamic,
I like that.
and hold on, let me think. Hold on.
No, take your time.
Innovative, creative, dynamic, and curious. Very
like
curious
that.
people. Yeah.
I call myself Curious George because I be nosy. I'm telling
That was
you,
my favorite book growing up.
man,
Curious
I've been
George.
digging in everything. I'm like, is this true? Is this factual?
Yeah,
Are y'all
yeah.
telling me? Are y'all lying?
They
So
are.
they are. I mean, actually, as I just heard today, everybody lying. Shit, I can't trust
Yeah.
no one. But damn self.
Yeah.
So thank you, Vivek, for being our guest today.
Yes.
When I mean this was one of the best conversations I've had, I truly mean it. And I didn't realize again that you were truly just so multifaceted. Like you are doing you on Forbes 30 and 30, you got a book, you got the social club, you got a startup, you got I mean, what can you not do?
I appreciate you, Taylor. You got to come join the club, or at least come to the workshop. We'll see
No,
you.
I'm joining because I've had a
Come.
quarter life crisis already. I'm trying to figure out who am
You're
I?
not at the quarter yet. You got a year before you hit the
Oh
quarter.
shit, Travarus, close enough. Close enough.
This has
cool.
been incredible. Recapping, hearing about you being an expert in all things Gen Z, but also having the acumen to back it up. Your company Petal is doing amazing work, which I want to hear more about. Your podcast, 501 Hustle, that's an incredible idea. The social club is like, what I find that you're doing is you're taking things that you experience and finding ways to put businesses around them, which I
Correct.
think
Exactly.
is an incredible skill. But you're also taking what you learned from Petal and hitting your head a few times to inform and even make branches to your, from your main thing to your side things. And man, this was a pleasure getting to know you and talking to you. And I wish you nothing but success going forward.
Me too. He's a genius, y'all.
I really appreciate it. Y'all are so kind. Also, y'all are great hosts. Like with me, but with each other. The chemistry was great. The energy was good. Sometimes I do some of these and I ain't gonna lie, it's like super boring. I'm like, oh my God, get me off this conversation. This was awesome. I really had a great time. I really could talk to y'all forever.
Oh, good. See, Travarus, I be cracking on Travarus in these to make it. I just like to go back and laugh a little bit. We try to make it fun, lighthearted, but also informational. So that made our day to hear that. You enjoyed being a guest.
For sure.
Of course.
And with that said, everybody, we will see you next week.